Okay, good morning, everybody. We are José Lopez ESTEVES and CHAOUKI KASMI, and we are going during the next 40 minutes to present you the research we did on electromagnetic threats on information systems that resulted in a new interesting technique for silently and remotely injecting voice commands on smartphones. So we are José Lopez ESTEVES and my friend CHAOUKI KASMI. We work with the French Network Information Security Agency in the Wireless Security Lab, and our main research topics are electromagnetic threats on information systems, radio communication security, embedded systems, as well as signal processing. So the menu for today, I will start by briefly introducing the voice command interpreters on the phones and the desktop computers. And then we will present the attack technique that we used for interfacing ourselves with the smartphones remotely. Then I will describe some attack scenarios and the related countermeasures. So the voice command, I will start with a brief definition, and then I will sum up some available commands through this interface. I will speak about the activation conditions and describe the whole processing. And then I will finish with a brief summary of previous work on the security. So the voice command interface is a hands-free user interface that allows the user to interact with electronic devices by voice. And this interface is getting more and more deployed on many kinds of devices, such as smartphones, smartwatches, the Internet of Things. You can also find voice command in cars and on desktop computers. And as it's getting more and more deployed, all the major OS editors provide their own solution. So Apple developed Siri and voice control previously. Microsoft has Cortana. Google developed Google Voice Search. And the phone manufacturers that like to add a proprietary layer on top of Android developed their own solution. So here, for example, it's Samsung, and its solution is called S-Voice. So what can you do by voice? On smartphones, you can control and trigger a lot of services. So, of course, you can use telephony services. You can place calls, send text messages. You can also access to a bunch of internet services. You can do web browsing. You can send emails, publish to social networks. And of course, you can do some web searches and use navigation and maps and so on. And the user can also access to local services, such as setting alarms, creating new calendar events, or launching using applications. And also sometimes, depending on the solution, you can also change the phone settings. So when the voice interpreters are always activated, the user just has to pronounce a keyword, and then he can say the command he wants to see executed on the phone. When it's not the case, you can launch the application by the aforementioned applications, or you can also enable the voice command interpreter by pressing a hard button. So, for example, you can use the home button on iPhones. And more interestingly, you can also use the main button on the remote of the headset. When the voice interpreter is activated, then the process is or can be done by two means. The first is local, so the keyword detection is made locally on the phone, and sometimes you can also access to limited actions on the phone directly. But for the vast majority of the commands, you need to have an internet access because the voice processing and the command interpretation is made on cloud services. So here we can see three main paths for interacting with the voice command interpreters. The first one is the network side. The second one is from the phone. We can imagine that an application could interact with the audio mixer on the phone, for example. And the third one is the audio front end. And in this study, we focused on the third one, the audio front end. So there has been previous work on voice command interpreter security. There has been a lot of articles about bypassing authentication, the lock screen authentication by using Siri. Some people a few years ago did some reverse engineering of the communication protocol between the cloud-based service and the phone. There is the voice processing side that is also critical because it's biometric data, it's the user's voice. And recently, Apple claimed or disclosed that they share the voice samples with third-party companies. So this is a threat for the user's privacy. And finally, some researchers published local attacks. They used a malicious application that will enable the voice command interpreter, and then will send commands through the audio front end. So they play the sound of the command through the speaker, and the voice command interpreter catches it from the audio front end. So in this attack, the user hears everything. And today we are going to present a new way, another way to interact with the voice command interpreters. And we will use smart intentional electromagnetic interferences to inject silently our voice command into the phone.
So, good morning, everybody. So I'm going to talk about the process for voice and command injection in the smartphones. So basically, I will first talk about smartphones, headsets, and AFM capabilities of smartphones. Then I will briefly introduce transmission principle and film-to-line coupling, showing that it can be complicated to model this kind of attack, and why we decided to set up an experimental setup to try to inject voice, and I will show you some results. So the first information is basically that some smartphones are AFM radio capable, and for receiving the AFM radio signal, you need to plug your headset or headphones to the smartphones. And another point is basically when you want to, as said Jose a few slides ago, if you want to start the voice command interpreter, you need to press a hard button, like generate a play pause button on the headset. Two information which are really interesting is that we have two propagation paths of the electric signal on the headset. Basically, we have the FM processing path, which is basically a bandpass filter, and then an AFM demodulator, and then you are able to listen to AFM radio. And the second path is a low-pass filter and an amplifier. So the characteristics of the audio input interface is interesting as it also encloses AM amplitude modulation demodulator. So that's something interesting for us, and we decided to investigate what kind of signal we are able to inject on this interface. So, as I said, so headphones are good FM radio signal receiving antennas. So it's basically the 80 megahertz to 108 megahertz frequency band. And the first consideration we had is maybe we could be able to generate AM modulated signal with voice modulating the continuous wave, and basically abusing the low-pass filter for removing the very high frequency continuous wave signal, inducing only the signal modulating this continuous wave. So the main hypothesis we have validated by using software simulation is trying to characterize low-pass filters and amplifier. So here we have on the left the voice command, and you have the continuous wave. And what we do is basically we modulate the continuous wave with this audio signal and generate it, through the antenna, and then check that basically the signal induced, the electrical signal induced at the voice input interface is basically the audio signal we wanted to generate. So that's what we first tried by simulation. And then we said, okay, as we have those information, are we able now to generate it and do it in real life? So basically just to remember you that we have a source generating EM field, and we have a receiving antenna, which is the AFEB, the headphones cable. And in the topic of IMI, we call this front-door coupling, as it is antenna-to-antenna communications. So we could also have done the modeling of the headphones for analyzing the electric signal induced on transmission lines. But basically, what we had some problems to model complex cables, and we have also to characterize the electric characteristics of cables, so the permittivity and the permeability of cables. And also in IMI, we call this antenna-to-cable coupling is called backdoor coupling. But in this research, we only focused on front-door coupling. So as I said, theoretical aspects can be complex and time-consuming. So we decided to switch to experimental validation of our hypothesis. So what do we need to check that we are able to inject voice? Is basically you just need a software-defined radio to generate amplitude modulated signal in the right frequency band. You may need also an amplifier, as you need a little bit of power. And you also need a set of targets with the provided headphones by manufacturers. The first problem that we have to cope with was the generating signal on the radio frequency band is not allowed. So we put our set of targets in a Faraday cage, so a shielded room, and put our transmitting antenna inside. So we have no signal from the outside, and we are not generating signal in the electromagnetic environment outside. Then another point that you need to be able to characterize and to analyze is what kind of signal is induced on the headphones. So we installed some application to stream the audio input from the set of targets, and we stream these signals to the outside of the Faraday cage on a monitoring computer, and just using VLC to read the streamed audio signal. Another point is basically that when you are using the voice command interface, you need to have internet access. So you may be using Wi-Fi or mobile communication, the mobile communication interface. So we decided to use Wi-Fi in the Faraday cage to provide remote access to internet. And based on this first preliminary test, we have seen that we were able to generate very high frequency signal modulated with audio waveforms, and that the induced audio waveform was the audio signal we wanted to induce at the input of the audio interface of the smartphone. Then we provided also internet to the set of targets we were testing, and we have seen that we were able to provide back the commands from the cloud and execute some commands on the smartphone. So just to sum up before Jose will show you some movies, because at this point you need to trust us. The first thing is we analyzed two scenarios. The first one was the audio interpreter, the voice command control interpreters was activated by default. So we generated only the first keyword and then the command we wanted to execute on the smartphones. And in the second scenario we tested if you were able to simulate the hard press button on the mic of the headphones, and we have seen that the same continuous wave modulated, frequency modulated, we were able to induce this hard press button. So both scenarios have been studied. The required electric field around the target was 28 volt per meter, which is less than the human safety limit. So we were happy to see that we were able to perform this kind of research without going above the human safety limit. Concerning the limitations of this kind of attack, so we characterize the limits of this kind of scenarios. So the antenna size is quite huge because we are in the very high frequency band, and you need to generate some large amount of power. So we have seen that basically for generating 28 volt per meter at 100 megahertz, at 1 meter you need 28 volt per meter for the source. So this means that if you want to increase the distance between the source and the target, you need to use some amplifier. So for 2 meters, we have seen that we need 40 watts. Basically, you can put this kind of source in your backpack. And if you want to perform this kind of test from 5 meters, you need 200 watts as an amplifier, which is huge. So then Jose will present you some scenarios and attacks that we tested.
Yeah, so now we know that we have a technique to interact with the voice command interpreters remotely and silently. So we can imagine, we can conceive several attack scenarios which are resumed here. So I'm going to present some scenarios about tracking, eavesdropping, cost abuse, reputation or phishing attacks, malicious application trigger, and advanced compromising, of course. So the first scenario is about tracking. So the idea is that the attacker will activate the wireless interfaces of the phone, and those interfaces, especially Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, you send frames over the air to advertise the presence of the device, or to advertise about the services that the device is able to serve, to propose. And of course, in the frames, you can find the MAC address, so you can identify the device, and you can also conclude that the device is in range of your receiver. so you can track an individual in certain zones using this technique. So we have for that the first demo. We use S-Voice to whether activate or deactivate the Bluetooth. So the payload that is sent over the air here is a Hi Galaxy, because you see it says it's on a Samsung Galaxy, and we just say the word Bluetooth, and this will act as a switch. So if the Bluetooth is on, it will switch off, and if it is off, it will switch the Bluetooth on. So I'm sorry for this video because the phone is in French, and it's not vertical, but I guess you can see in this video on the right part of the phone you can see the microphone pictogram, and when there is an activity on the audio front end detected, you will see some blue bars on the microphone pictogram. And then you will see that the phone is able to interpret the signal that we inject as the word Bluetooth. Okay, so here, thank you. Here you can see that the phone correctly translated the command as Bluetooth, and we have the message that is saying that the Bluetooth is disabled because it was previously enabled. Sorry. So the next attack scenario is about eavesdropping. So here the attacker simply forces the target's phone to make a call to his monitoring phone. And by doing that, he is able to listen to the target's sound environment. So here we are attacking an iPhone 4. And it's voice control. It's not Siri, because Siri was not enabled on the phone. And here we, for the demonstration, we just ask to call mon compte, which is the contact entry, the French contact entry for the my account contact. So here he interpreted the command and he places the call. And what's interesting is that there is no notification. So you see that the lock screen is back on, and the user knows nothing about the phone call that is ongoing. And now you see the green part on the top of the screen, that is the notification of the phone call. All right. The next demo is about web browsing. So the scenario here could be some cost abuse attacks. So you can imagine a massive attack in a crowded place, in the metro, for example, the subway. And here the scenario is that you force the victim to place a call or to send a text message to a paid service, or a text message to subscribe to a paid service, and so on. And here we demonstrate that you are able to do some web browsing. So we are attacking an Android phone, and the payload here is OK Google, and go to www.ssi.gouv.fr. You have to spell the whole URL, so it's a long payload. And you see the red dot means that there is some activity on the audio front end, and now the command went to the cloud service to be interpreted. It comes back, and then the website pops up. Okay. One can imagine also some reputation or phishing attacks by abusing the contacts of the target phone. So you can imagine sending embarrassing content or publishing to social media embarrassing content, or even web search history poisoning. And of course, you can send text messages or emails to the contact list of the target. We can also imagine triggering a malicious application, so it can be launching a malicious application when you want it to perform the malicious payload, or just to send a trigger to the application so that it triggers the payload. And we can also imagine a scenario where you will launch a critical application. Here I give an example. It's an application called Sesame. And it's an application which is related to a door lock. And the door lock is Wi-Fi enabled, so you can open and close your door from anywhere on the planet if you have internet connectivity. And here, if you want to attack Sesame, you just have to say, "OK, Google, Sesame," and it will open the door. And just for the demo, we opened the Gmail application. Oh yeah, and you can see on this video, you see well the Faraday cage we are in and the big antenna we used to make the tests. But you can do it with a 30-centimeter antenna. And here we see that we succeeded to open the Gmail application through the voice command interface. And finally, we can imagine several advanced compromising scenarios where you use the voice command injection just as a first step for a bigger attack, I say. And you will try to exploit other vulnerabilities to further compromise the user's device. We can, for example, imagine a silent application installation via a malicious web page. Some research last year was published on abusing the Samsung Knox to install remotely and silently an application, a malicious application, just by visiting a web page. You can also imagine any kind of wireless interface exploitation, where the Wi-Fi, for example, sends probe requests, and usually you can find the last access point's name in the probe request, so an attacker can create a rogue access point and then perform some man-in-the-middle on the network, on the Wi-Fi. And then you can even, when you are in the middle, you can even use the voice interface again to launch an application that you want to monitor or attack. So I'm going to present now some countermeasures against this attack for users and manufacturers. The main goal will be to reduce the attack surface, limit the attack's impact, increase the required attacker level, and we also have a proposition for detecting this kind of attack. So for users, the first thing is unplug the headphones when you don't need to use them. If you use headphones that have no microphone, the phone will detect that there is no microphone on the headphone cable, and you will never be able to use this as a voice input on the audio front end, so it can be a good countermeasure. Of course, use voice command only when you need it. You can also think of personalizing the keyword so that the attacker has to personalize his attack also. Carefully select the commands that you want to make available through the voice interface interpreter. especially before authentication, because you can also use the voice command before the lock screen authentication. And the last one would be to enable as many feedbacks as possible so that the user can notice when a voice command is executed. And for editors, it's quite the same. We want them to limit the critical commands that are available through voice interface and wisely choose the default settings of the voice command interface also to reduce the attack surface. They can also reduce the audio front-end sensitivity so that the attacker needs more power to be able to interact with the voice command interpreter. Voice recognition would be a good solution to force a further personalization of the attack. The attacker would need to get some voice samples of the victim before attacking. Finer grain settings for the user so that the user can limit the attack surface and the impact, and he can choose if he wants to be vulnerable or not. And we proposed a technique to detect abnormal electromagnetic activity around the phone by using the built-in sensors that are inside the phone. And this work was published some months ago at URC AT-RASC conference. So the main goal of this talk was to convince you that the voice command injection interface is critical, it can be sensitive, and it should be correctly secured. So we invite the users to use it wisely, and the editors to mainly allow the users to use it wisely by providing finer grain settings and implement secure default settings for this interface. And we also invite you all to take a look at this interface. There are many attack vectors that we didn't try. So go on. It's a critical and complex command input interface.
So concerning intentional electromagnetic interferences, basically we have been working for a long time on IMI effects on information system and electronic devices. And the use of this kind of sources was for damaging or disturbing at least electronic devices, so it was limited to denial of services attacks. And we have shown here that using smart intentional electromagnetic interferences, we are able to perform much more smarter attacks, and it becomes a very interesting threat for information security. It is also interesting to point out that software-defined radio and low-cost amplifier leads to designing low-cost, high-power sources, which need to be taken into account in risk analysis for critical infrastructures. So thank you for your attention. Here we have a set of references. You can look at it. There is the image credits because we took some pictures on the internet. And we would like to thank you again. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Here we have our email addresses. So thank you very much for your attention.
Questions? Too early for questions?
I think so, yeah.
Did you try to extend the distance between the main antenna and the receiver? That means, did you try to launch your attack within the Fraunhofer zone or in the far field zone?
We were in far field. So for the videos, we wanted to show you the antenna and the targets.
Yep.
But we have been working in the far field.
With which amount of power?
We have shown you it's basically
only 40 watts?
at 2 meters, above 3 meters. So it's 100 megahertz. Okay. The wavelength is 3 meters. So if you go above 3, the wavelength divided by 2 by pi, you find less than 1.5 meters. So basically, we need 15 watts.
Yeah, thanks.
In fact.
How portable is this device? Can you walk around with that? And how available is this going to be public so I can get one?
Sorry?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. How portable, how mobile is the device when you're walking around? Can you walk around with it? Like, can I sneak it into a place and be able to use it there? Or is it more stationary?
Oh. Yeah, it depends. As CHAOUKI said on that slide,
it's not. Huh? It's not here anymore. But.
Oh yeah, okay. It depends on the range you want to reach. So if you are close to the target, you can imagine a backpack with the amplifiers, the SDR computer, and the antenna. And you can walk in a room, and within 2.5 meters, you can reach the target phone. But if you go if you want to attack from farther than that, you need to have more battery for the amplifiers. The amplifiers are bigger, so it's a limiting factor for that.
No more questions?
Thank you. You used the Faraday cage for your experience. With the noise of a normal electromagnetic fields with a radio wave, can it work also? For example, you said the metro, but without the Faraday cage, can the system work? Or is the noise produced by a normal frequency of radio?
Yeah. Though when you have your mobile phone and using the FM radio, the signal level is really low. So if you are computing the signal to noise ratio, you will be able to check that basically the attacks will be possible in the classical, in the normal environment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.